Hi, my name is Pete, and today's date is Friday, June 7th, 2013. This is being filmed at Old Shincracker Studios in Vermont. Today I'll be going to demonstrate a working Model 9, but first I'll give you some close-up pictures of it, and we'll start in just a minute. Here we have the top view. You can see it's in pretty remarkable shape. Now, the purpose that I'm doing this video is that I'm going to be listing this for sale on eBay in late October, maybe early November. So if anyone is interested in contacting me about this radio, at the end of the video you'll see my email and you can make contact with me. Okay, this is the top view. It is a 4-tube variety, and this is a very early model. So now I'm going to flip it upside down so you can see the underneath part. This is the underside of the Atwater Kent number 9, and you can see the original label still stuck on there. I'll get up a close view of it, and you can see that it is serial number 195, and that's the way they fastened them on the breadboards from underneath. Here's a pan of it. And I'll move it over to the left side so you can get a better view of that. Here's a better view of the left side. Pull back a little. It's in just beautiful shape. Alright, now we're going to go on to the other things that are going to be connected to make this radio work. This is the antenna wire, which is attached to a brass knurled knob, fastener actually, and that runs out 130 feet to the outside. And over here is the ground wire, which is also fastened to another knurled brass knob, and that runs up to a ground. It's very important to have a ground. They do not like to work without a ground. In fact, they won't work. All you'll get is just a low level buzz. Alright, going on to the next item. Here is a battery supply that will supply the voltages required to run this radio. Normally you get 6 volts for the filaments, and then 22.5 volts for the detector, and then for the plates of the tube you run it around 90. You can run it higher than that. But anyway, this little gem here can supply all kinds of voltages for the old battery operated radios. In the days when this was purchased, you had to use car battery for the 6 volts and then a series of other batteries to make up the various other voltages that you need. Now when I pan down here, you'll see where they actually all go to, those 4 lugs with the brass knurled knobs on them. This is your 6 volt supply. This is your 22.5 for the detector, and this I believe is 90. Yeah, it's 90 volts. Now we have an old speaker made by Crosley, and it's around the same age period that this radio was made. There were a lot of speaker makers. I chose not to use a speaker in this demonstration because in those days they were just experimenting and learning all about audio, and the end result is they're very dismal sounding, beaky, a lot of bass, and no high end where the intelligence is. So what I did was I took a little transformer, which I think you can see hanging off the TA unit right there. I can get a little closer. Let's see. It's that little green thing. I'll point to it for you. Instead of using the old type fashion speaker, I put that transformer in, and that transformer then takes 2,000 ohms impedance of the tube and it reduces it down to 8 ohms so it can run a regular old type of speaker, an 8 ohm speaker, which in this case I used an old Hammerland, and it works very well. And there's the old Hammerland. Here's a better view of the little transformer. These are the output of the speaker, these 2 tall posts here. and I connected the primary of the little transformer there. I think it's a Radio Shack here, and then the two 8 ohms, they then go to this speaker over here. I thought I'd give you a little bit of history on where I acquired this Atwater Kent number 9. It's originally, this breadboard came from Long Beach Island, Ocean County, New Jersey, and it was given to the Barnegat Bay lighthouse keeper as a retirement gift. He never apparently used it, and from what I understand when I bought it from the estate representatives, that it was up in the closet, coat closet, on a very top shelf. So that's why it's in such beautiful condition. It's been gone. I've gone all through it, and there's really was nothing to replace in it, and it's really tip-top as far as physical shape and electrical shape. All the tubes test around 100%. There's really not a lot to these radios, and it's an interesting thing to try and tune them up. As mentioned before, this is a very, very early example of a number 9. And it uses the 4 binding posts, which I pointed out to you, where you would connect your various voltages at the rear. It also uses the vario couplers, as opposed to the later version of a number 9, which used power carried through a cord. It has the green TA unit, which is the detector and 2-stage audio amplifier, and it measures 26.5 inches by 8.5. I was never able to find a schematic for the early version of the number 9, so I actually had to backward engineer it and produce a new schematic for it, which is unique to the early number 9s. The later number 9s are not the same circuit at all, and I eventually came to the conclusion that this is a stealth regenerative / TRF circuit. I think some other folks have also come to that conclusion as well, independently of me. So I think perhaps maybe Atwater Kent was trying to get around a patent infringement, and this is the way he did it. And later, I guess they had to change it to a later model number 9, which also used the vario couplers and then changed them to capacitive types. Okay, for the test, I've already have it tuned into a radio station in Boston, which is about 200 miles as the crow flies. I'm going to be away from the microphone in the recording device here, and I've placed the recording device closer to the speaker. That way, if it's a tiny signal, you'll be able to hear it, but you may not always be able to hear me. So here we go. We're going to turn it to Boston, which I don't know what their call letters are. I thought I wrote them down, but I didn't. But I think it's NPR. So here we go. This isn't. That would be the. 200 miles, I think, as the crow flies from us. Something like that. Now, talking about that this is a stealth regenerative receiver, you can see the volume, you can hear the volume come up as I take the potentiometer on this right one here. It'll come up, it'll start to...
Programming on All News WNNZ is funded by you and Simmons graduates.
It'll go into oscillation.
Bring a full master's program from the campus.
As you bring it up louder and louder, positive feedback will eventually feedback just like a microphone on a stage sometimes. So,
in California today. Cyber and trade are expected to come
I was fiddling with the RF amplifier here and the potentiometer,
for the US military drawdown,
but it puts out a fairly substantial volume here, but it will go into oscillations as it gets louder, louder, and louder. There it goes, just like a regenerative receiver. Alright, that's the same station. Now what I'm going to do is show you that what happens is when you slightly tune anything off, it goes completely dead. And you really have to fiddle very finely with these radios, because lots of times people think, well, gee, it doesn't work anymore. But then all of a sudden it just jumps up.